Okay, so hello, my four viewers who watch my little channel. Is that working? Yes, I think so. So I want, God, no, I thought it's Saturday. I got my coffee. I wanted to chit chat. I felt like sharing the ones that scared me the most. So it is, biased, but these are mine, and I'll give you reasons why and how they affected me, and maybe how they influenced me in my work and all that good stuff. But some are, whatever. Okay, so let's see. So these are the 5 movies that really affected me that I saw either in the theater or on VHS. That's how old I am. For the first time, and just absolutely rocked my world. Just absolutely destroyed me. And so here we go. I'm gonna say for me, number 5 is gonna be the Blair Witch Project. The original, the first one. Is there another one? Maybe that. I know, yeah, the first one, because I know it was remade, which I thought was really interesting, but not as effective. So you have to understand, back in the '90s, late '90s, when this was going around, they had a website, they had articles, they made people believe that it was real, that these people were missing, and it was the first time ever, ever that you went into a theater, and like a big theater, like a Cineplex or something like that, or like the AMC's that are today, and you went in and you paid your ticket and you sit down and you're like watching a home video. So it was very strange. It was in 4:3, and then that's what sucked you in. That's what got into it. And at first I was like, this is so fucking boring. Like, what is going on? I'm watching a home video. I don't get it. Anybody can do this. I was young at the time. But I was sucked into it. I was watching it. Now, this is why it scared me. I As it went on, I mean, certain things, I found very effective when they were interviewing people, and like people that have claimed to see the Blair Witch. They say like, oh, her feet never touched the ground, or like her body was like fur. It was kind of like fur, like these interactions, but you never see her. That's the scariest part. It's in your imagination. So well, everybody's Blair Witch in their mind was a little different than the one that was on the screen, because there wasn't any on the screen, which I think is just fucking brilliant. So as the movie went on, and then they descend in kind of a madness. They get in the house, and then by the end, he's just standing, in the corner, one of the lead characters, and how they got lost in the woods. And of course, certain things influenced me on my film Backcountry, and I think a lot of films took an influence from it, especially the tent inside the tent. How vulnerable you are, and they just absolutely what was terrifying. Like after the movie, you wouldn't want to go camping just from the sounds of outside the tent. You would just like, it freaks you out because you don't know what's around you. These little noises of creaks and cracks, because you're so vulnerable in this, like, underneath this dome of cloth. So I thought that was very effective. But when I left the theater, I was like, I didn't feel much. I was like, that's interesting. It's kind of weird. But it was the feeling afterwards at night when it kind of seeped in you. And I was like, oh, her feet never touched the ground. What does she look like? And you start developing in your mind. I remember that night just laying there in the dark, thinking she was going to be standing in the room or something like that, and like she's supernatural. So it scared me. It really scared me for a while. It's just the thought, like, why did she put him in the corner at the end? What was he doing there? And like the camera, what happened afterwards? Did we feel that we saw her for a second? So it got under my skin and scared me. Okay, so that's number 4. And the 6 people that are going to watch this, or the 4 people that are going to watch this, you're going to probably want to click off as soon as you hear this movie. But just wait. Just wait. Number 4 is Paranormal Activity. Wait. Right. Listen, that movie did really well in the theaters for a reason. And again, like Blair Witch, it was this found footage thing that was new at the time. What scared the shit out of me about that movie was just how simple it was, how realistic it was, how good the actors were. But just watching this like descent into like, oh, careful what you play with, or careful what you wish for, try to document it. We've never seen anything like it. I haven't. And even though knowing it was, maybe, of course, it's fake or whatever, but it was just so well done. So that night, I was like mad at I was older, and I'm like mad at myself. I'm like, why am I scared? And all I kept thinking was, I'm going to see my wife just standing at the edge of the bed, like facing the other way, which is so creepy. So it happens in the movie. She just gets up and stands there, and you see the time, go quickly. And I think a lot of movies, a lot of found footage movies, they take a lot from that one. I think Blair Witch and Paranormal are like the top of the found footage movies. Number one and number two, or number two and number one, whatever. But those two are like amazing. And I just remember how, because it was creepy, because you're like, oh, it first starts, you hear like scratching in the walls, or you feel this like heaviness, or like it gets closer and closer as it comes to you, and it's like supernatural, so you can't see, can't control it, and it can penetrate walls, it could come and get you. So that's what scared me. Like, everybody's susceptible to it. So kudos to that movie, and it got good reviews. And William Friedkin, who's like obviously a master in the space, making one of the best horror films of all time, said he loved that movie, and I don't blame him. Okay, number three. This one I saw in the theater, and I saw in the theater because I worked with one of the actors a couple of years before, Brian Cox, who's a legend. I only had one scene with him, and it was quite the experience. But I remember he's in this horror movie. I'm a horror nut. I couldn't wait to see it. And then I went to the theater, and it wasn't popular yet. Nobody was really talking about it. It was hard to, like, you'd see the promos, and you'd be like, what is this about? That's so strange. What's going on? There's a well, there's a girl, it was hard to put together, which made it even more intriguing. And I remember there was an image as we were watching the movie, and at first I was like, oh my God, this is weird. It's like there's a glitch in the TV. Oh, it's going to be one of those, like, technical horror films or something like that. Like, I don't know. It just took me out. Like, is Johnny Mnemonic the horror film? And I was like, okay, I guess I'll sit through this. But then the way it unravels, and then the beginning was so effective. And then there's a great line when her sister's in the kitchen. The lead character's talking to her sister at her niece's funeral, because she was passed on by then. She died. And she goes, what happened? She goes, well, you didn't see her face. And then this face. I remember in the theater, there's a woman, and it wasn't packed. There was maybe like, honestly, it was like Friday night. And there's like less than 20 of us in the whole theater. And this woman ahead of me, as soon as she saw that face, all I hear is, no, hell no, no, I'm done. Nope. Got up, walked right out. And then we all kind of giggled, but we all think we felt the same way. And we went through the movie. So number 3 is The Ring. And so anyway, when I saw this movie, I was so glued, the unraveling of it. I wasn't even aware of the original at that point. I've heard the rumblings of this, like, Japanese horror films that were like bubbling up, and this like supernatural stuff that was really getting a lot of, like, people were talking about it, but I hadn't seen one yet. And then this one, thought it was just so well made. And when she sees the tape, every time I thought the movie would stumble, it exceeded my expectations. Like, when she put the VHS in, I'm like, well, video can't be that scary. And then it just was like, what is that? The sound design, the images, the horses, and the way she unraveled the mystery, where you're just like glued. I was glued, and people, except for the woman who walked out, was glued. But it fucked me up. Like, that night, I had the same TV, like that, 4x6, whatever, like those little glass TVs there that they don't sell anymore. This is so long ago, when it first came out in 2002. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she came over, and it freaked me out, because she goes, if you've seen the movie, you'll know. She comes back and goes, she comes over, we had a date, and she's like, oh, my friend, I got a bootleg of this movie that came out. This is true. The Ring. And she pulls out a VHS tape, and I'm like, yay! I'm like, get that thing out of my house. Because, like, the tape is actually here. It found me. Samara found me. I remember feeling like, do you have any idea? I was like, are you fucking with me? Did you see the movie? Why are you giving me this VHS tape? I swear on my life. And that's when I fell in love with her. Yeah. So, and I just couldn't sleep that night. Again, I was like, I'm 24 years old or whatever. I'm like, I'm old. Why am I scared? I haven't been scared like this since I was a little kid. I'm like, what? And then, like, I kept in the other room, I kept feeling that she was going to come out of my television. And I had the exact same television. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna come out of that TV. I just was so upset with myself. I was so embarrassed. I was like, what the fuck? But it was a good feeling, you know, you miss it because you don't, like, movies don't scare you anymore. And a lot of movies weren't scaring me at that point, but that one really did. Um, and whoever hasn't seen it, you're in for a treat. It is wild. And number two, my brother showed me this movie when I was about 7 years old, or 6 or 7. I was so young. And then somebody had it on VHS, and I went over, and that one changed me forever. And that's, of course, The Evil Dead. And that movie, the two people that are watching this at this point, if you've seen any of my movies, you'll see the influence in the subconscious, I think, in everything, like Backcountry and Pyewacket and Wolf, and my latest one, This Is Not a Test. Like, it is, you know, it is everywhere. I'm not even trying to do it. Even when I do Slasher, the series, like, it just kind of just seeps in and without it, subconsciously. So I owe the film a lot. And I found it so inspiring. But at the time when I was that young, I mean, I felt ill, felt sick for days, like a week, couldn't sleep. I was too young, and my older brother, was like showing me, like it was like forbidden to see it. You know, he's just like, "Oh, you got to see this film. It's so crazy." I think he saw it and he was so scared. He wanted me to, like, he didn't want to share the burden. But anyway, that movie, right away, you feel like I shouldn't be watching this, and but it was so, it pulled me in. And then, of course, that famous scene with the cards, like Jack of Diamonds, Jack of Clubs, and she turns in her face with her wide eyes and screams. And I was like, that's it, I'm done, I'm out. And I finished watching the movie, but I was just like, oh my god, it just destroyed me. This face, oh, I was just like, mm. So that scared the shit out of me. And I wonder if it holds up. I'm sure it does. If the two people watching, if one of them is younger and it's like, yeah, I did see it recently, I wonder if it holds up. I'd love to know, because I think it does. It's got such energy. It's so well directed. It's an absolute masterpiece, and people still talk about it for a reason. It's had this legacy for a reason. I mean, Sam Raimi is. The story of even making that film is worth the price of admission. It is crazy and inspiring because they were so young, and they did it on a shoestring budget, and the journey of that film is pretty incredible. So number one. Now, before I say number one, I I will say, like, the more modern ones, like now that I'm older and I'm more jaded and all that crap, it's just like it's really hard to scare me anymore. It seems like, or make me feel like really scared, or but only a couple in the past like 10, 15, 20 years that made me feel like, ooh, that was, ooh, I'm glad ooh, that got me right here, right in the gut. And one of them is Smile, the first one. So if you haven't seen that movie yet, I definitely recommend it. And the second one is just as good. It's just as good. I love those films. So number one is, of course, The Exorcist. Everybody talks about this film. For me, it is the godfather of horror. I won't say much about it because it's been, people have been covering this forever. But for me, I saw it maybe at 10, too young again, 10, 11 years old. 10, yeah. And for me, what stuck with me was when her mother was trying to get in the room, and, she slammed the door and everything. And then when she gets in and the things are flying everywhere, and she's sitting at the edge of the bed, and she kind of just turns her head, but not her body, and looks at her. I mean, insane, insane. That stuck with me. That image, it's still with me sometimes. If I'm really alone at night, I just can see it in my mind's eye, and it's like, oh, that's fucking crazy. So sometimes just an image like that, when it's anchored with such a vulnerable and emotional story, can be just so effective. But that movie, I mean, oh, it was like done like a documentary almost when you watch it closer. It stands up the test of time. There's something about it, I think, transcends just like a spooky movie, because it deals with like a young girl and her mother and their relationship, and like in the vulnerability of being a parent with a child, and they're going through something, and you can't really help them. There's all that element that's going on in the film, but also, like, they go to the hospital, and the hospital scene is incredible. Like, you really feel like you're being checked up on, and it's so effective and strong in the sound design. I'm not surprised it's been so revered. And people, like, apparently, like, I wasn't around obviously at the time, but like when it came out in the theaters, they would have ambulances outside. People would pass out because it deals with religion. So not only you're in the supernatural element, you're with the religious, element where it's like it could be real, right? Because if you're a believer, if you believe in God, you believe in the devil or the evil, and the way it comes into the girl's life by the Ouija board and like talking to Mr. Howdy and all this thing, you're just like, oh fuck, like the scratching of the rats and how it kind of like seeped into the home and the priests, being who they are and coming in and trying to like bring the light to the situation and literally fight to the death to destroy the evil that is crippling this young girl. It is a masterpiece. And it's scary for me when I saw it. And before I go, if you haven't seen any of these movies, I'm sure you have. If you watch, I'm like, I dare anybody watch all five, have like a marathon over, a day. I wonder how fucked up you'd be at the end. I don't know. If anybody has any recommendations for a very scary movie, or what's your top five, if anybody watches this, let me know. I'd love to talk about, watch it if I haven't seen it, and talk about it and whatever. Very cool. I lastly say The Shining is not on this list for one reason. I did see it very young. It didn't scare me. It creeped me out, which is something completely different, I feel. That got under my skin. That got in my body. That was a different experience. That's like I took a drug or something. And it was just so creepy. It didn't scare me. I think there's a difference between scary and creepy. It's like this deep, deep, dark sense of dread that permeates from that movie that I think infected me, like most people who saw it, especially when you're so young. And the weirdest part, I was young enough to think from the poster, I thought it was Harrison Ford in the movie, not Jack Nicholson. That's how young I was when I saw it. I was like, oh, Han Solo's in this movie. Anyway, all right, hope you enjoyed my little video. And happy Saturday. Hope you have a great day.